Let's talk to James Price, former Conservative government advisor. James, very good morning to you.
Hello, my friend. I loved your start to this hour of the show of what a great country this still is. As Tennyson once said, though much is taken, much abides.
Yes, it's absolutely true. And I think we've awoken somehow. I don't know where the word woke came from originally, and I know that somebody will tell me that it's all to do with, the South in America, and it was all about, racial harmony and la-di-la-di-la. But we have suddenly awoken in this country. People are painting flags of St. George on roundabouts. People are putting up Union Jacks in their street. People are defying authority and saying, you know what, bugger you, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to actually shout loud and proud that I'm British, and I'm really rather proud of it, and I like it. And all of these bloody migrants who have come here can get lost. It's simple as that.
We're reclaiming the word woke, right?
We are. I'm reclaiming it. We've awoken into a state of what I would call kind of, very, very happy and forward-looking thinking.
Yeah, well, we've awoken from a nightmare, right? I think that's what we've all kind of collectively realised, and that it's no good the government trying to, in the language to gaslight us anymore, because it's just plain as day for everybody to see the kind of dark state that the country has been stuck in for a long time now. And I think it's interesting that as more and more of these illegal migrants come over, and frankly also lots of legal migrants of incredibly low skills who have managed to cheat the system and come in on skilled worker visas where the only skill is having a cousin or an auntie or someone who's already here to help fudge it, and this idea that you need to be highly skilled in order to do the most low-skilled work. So we've seen millions of legal migrants. And by the way, that the public in general is very angry about legal migration as well, even though when you poll the public, they think that legal migration is about 10 times lower than it actually is. We're also very angry, obviously, about some of the images that people who are watching this live stream now can see, of people coming over on the small boats. They get their phones out when they're in Paris and take photos outside the Eiffel Tower, and they do like a kind of road trip all the way along. So obviously this idea that they're all from war-torn countries is completely for the birds, and people recognise that. It's only the politicians today who don't. It's worth saying, by the way, that 20 years ago, when Tony Blair was still the Prime Minister, he acknowledged, for all his many sins and faults, that most of the people claiming asylum were bogus claimants, making up sob stories, and that only about 5% or so of asylum claims were actually accepted 20 years ago. Well, from last year, it was about 66%. Over 2/3 of people were accepted. Do we really think the world has got that much worse in 20 years? Of course not. We've just got softer.
Yeah, exactly right. And these people have started coming here because they know that they will get a soft touch, and they know that once they've set foot on the land, they will probably never leave. This whole one in, one out cobblers that was announced 13 days ago by Yvette Cooper and Keir Starmer has resulted in 2,500 people coming in and not one of them leaving. And they promised us constant updates. They promised us regular updates. We've had no updates at all because they haven't done anything.
No, I mean, I don't understand how stupid this government is. I'm really, I had low expectations for them, and they've exceeded even those. But this idea of calling it one in, one out, when, as you can say, it's hardly true, is it? 2,500 people have come in. It's more like one maybe out occasionally, but he can complain under the European Convention on Human Rights, ECHR, his right to a future family life. 19 in, right? That's not exactly as catchy a slogan.
Really?
The Home Office is vaguely aware, and the ministers are now vaguely aware, after being in the job for a year or so, that nothing they're willing to do is going to change anything at all, because they're not willing to change the fundamental legal structures that they'll need to in order to fix this. So they just come out with any old cobblers as an announcement to try and fill the pages and try and distract people. But that's essentially just lying. And as you say, the great people of this country have now completely and comprehensively seen through it.
They really have. I mean, do you think, like I do, that this is a bit of an existential threat as well to this government's kind of ability to govern the country? Because if they can't sort this situation out, and I don't know that they can, they can't really do anything, can they?
No, you're exactly right. This is the bit that once listeners and viewers understand this, everything will become crystal clear. If you take a pretty dim view of politicians and think they're not really actually in it to help the country and all the rest, which I don't think is always fair, you assume the one thing they will actually want to do is keep hold of their job, keep hold of their seat, get re-elected. and yet they're not willing even to do the things they need to do in order to get re-elected. So what are they doing? What is the impetus that's driving them? It's the fact that their mates in fancy Islington will not invite them to nice dinner parties if they're being seen to be mean to the poor crying Somalian blokes who have left their wives and children thousands of miles away in not very nice countries to come here in search of an easier life. And it's this rest of this structure around that says if you do this, it will be illegal, it will be breaking international law, and the activists will tell you that you're a racist and a bad person. You've got these other pressures on them that seem to matter to the politicians more than holding on to their seats. And once you realize that these are not rational actors, and these are not people who are even listening to democracy, because it's only 200 people changed jobs last year when Starmer came in, 100 ministers and 100 special advisors across the whole of government, and those special advisors, spads like I used to be, don't even have any actual power to boss civil servants around. You realize that almost everybody is exactly the same, and that's why nothing has changed. And that's why I think people are getting so angry, because that mechanism for changing course, which was the election, has done nothing but make it much, much worse.
No question at all. And as if you didn't need another totemic kind of, sign, the Keir Starmer regime is completely and utterly bereft of any sort of heart and any kind of soul and any kind of brains. Lucy Connolly gets released probably later on today. Have a look at this, right? This is when Keir Starmer was asked last year, in the midst of all of the furore around Lucy Connolly being put in prison, having been sort of, revealed to have been a housewife who just made a rather stupid mistake. Check out what he said.
I'm not across the details of the particular case, but let me give you the principles that I would apply. Firstly, I'm strongly in favour of free speech. We've had free speech in this country for a very, very long time, and we protect it fiercely. I'm equally, though, against incitement to violence against other people. That has long been an offence in our country, and rightly so. And so I say, don't know the details of this case, but free speech, yes. Incitement to violence, no.
I mean, he literally is... I mean, talk about gaslighting. I mean, does he think we're stupid? He's actually said that the most high-profile case of a woman being sent to prison for a tweet... He's not familiar with the case, not familiar with the details. I mean, what's wrong with him?
Well, I'm going to use some language that would be considered unparliamentary were it to be said in the House of Commons. The man is just a liar, and everybody can see it, right? Yeah. And he's not, as you say, he's not smart enough to lie very well. This is a guy who, the one good thing I think he's done the whole year that he's been in power so far was that Island of Strangers speech. So that was excellent because he was dead right about it. He then came out and said, of course, I regret saying that. I was a bit distracted by stuff. I hadn't really read it beforehand. Like, you're not supposed to admit that you don't read the bloody speeches that you're given to read out loud, man. Yeah. It's almost difficult to have a kind of political contest against somebody who's that gormless. It's like playing poker against someone who doesn't know the rules and they just kind of go all in straight away. How do you know what to do with it? And this is how just ridiculous this government is. They don't have a clue about this kind of stuff. And you do get these kind of perverse outcomes. It's really embarrassing. You watch him earlier on in the week next to Maloney and Macron and the rest of it, all having to go to the headmaster's table in the Oval Office with Donald Trump. Right? This is the man representing us on the world stage. I've been in America for the last week and a half and then watching some of the news on it and the way that they fail even to pronounce his name properly, Keir Starmer and things like that, shows he's not exactly cut through on the world stage as a kind of giant totemic statesman.
No, I mean, and that will probably harm him and hurt him more than anything because that's all he can really cling to now because his domestic agenda is completely and utterly destroyed. He's got no credibility with the people of this country in the same way that Macron doesn't. But, at least Macron looks quite good on a hoverboard, This guy is completely and utterly bereft of any charm, of any sense of self, of any kind of pride in his own country. He's just a complete disaster. And he even turns up to talk to Donald Trump with a bloody cold sore and doesn't even cover it up. And I was laughing yesterday, we're filming Plank of the Week, as it's the only thing he hasn't covered up since he's been Prime Minister.
That's an excellent line, by the way. You're right. The thing, let's pull this out a bit further because we've still got almost maybe 4 years of this. I'm not sure that this rancid government's going to make it to the entire length.
I hope not.
But they're probably aware that they are only going to be a one-term government now. And that doesn't do very well for parties when they start getting that mindset in. So at what point are they going to start moving against Starmer? Who are they going to replace him with? Is it going to be Wes Streeting, who's actually half decent, but the guy is definitely going to lose his seat to a bunch of Islamists next time round. He almost lost it this time round. And given that he's a gay man, they'll use all kinds of complaints and tactics and things against him. We saw that happen to someone like the Conservative MP Mike Freer in Finchley before, where certain groups didn't like that fact about him and used it to campaign against him. Or are they going to do Angela Rayner? They're going to put her in, which I don't even need to comment on because your listeners will be screaming.
Yes. I see she's on the front. She's on the front of the Mail this morning, holding a very large glass of wine, sitting on the Brighton beach, wearing one of those dry robes, which, as Chloe Dobbs just told us, is possibly the worst thing you could ever be caught wearing if you are trying to be, somebody who's down with the kids, because it's actually not a very cool thing to have.
Well, I'm a bit worried if she is in Brighton because isn't the leader, is it Jared Taylor or something like that, leader of Brighton Council, has said we're a sanctuary city.
Yes.
All you poor benighted migrants come here. And given the higher levels of crime that these bogus asylum seekers cause, if I were a drunk woman on Brighton Beach, I'd be pretty worried looking at the statistics, frankly.
That's a good point. Absolutely right. The other story I just want to mention quickly to you is Rachel Reeves on the front of the Times today being warned by various leaders of business, including the Tesco, Sainsbury's, John Lewis, Boots and others, saying that food price inflation could hit 6% this year. She's been battered and bruised by inflation going up again this week, 3.8% now, which is, I'm sure is underreporting what it really should be. But basically, retailers are saying that living standards will fall dramatically, and that's one of the things that Starmer says he's going to do. Let's do a little montage on Rachel Reeves. This has been put together with love from Morning Glory.
The one job that I've always wanted to do is to be Chancellor of the Ex-Govt. I was an economist at the Bank of England many years before I became an MP. I worked in financial services. I know how to run a successful economy. And I wanted to be an economist, but after finishing at university, my background is as an economist, and I think I put that to good use. As a young economist at the Bank of England, I was seconded to the British Embassy here. But it also made me reflect that in all my time working as an economist at the bank and in the private sector, I spent the best part of a decade as an economist at the Bank of England. I started my career as an economist at the bank. I started my career as an economist at the Bank of England. I know how important it is to have low and stable inflation.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that, really, other than this is entirely in a government of self-delusion, isn't it?
Well, it's hard to tell, isn't it? Is it self-delusion or are they just liars?
Yeah.
Again, that is a lie. It's a lie that she's said over and over and over again. She said it so many times that maybe she's even started to believe it. But if she did believe it, she should be disabused of that notion, given what a crap job, frankly, to use a technical term, she's done on the economy. Give Jeremy Hunt a huge amount of credit, the last Conservative Chancellor, inherited a bit of a mess, and he didn't do an awful lot of things that might have made life politically a lot easier for the Conservatives, offering tax cuts and giveaways and spending pots here and there and all the others, because he understood just how bad inflation can get if you don't get a grip on it, and how especially bad it can be for working people, like I was a Labour politician there, for normal people who struggle to make ends meet and who actually have to go out to work rather than these shysters we've been talking about who sit in hotels all day getting free money. And Hunt did that so that he could get to grips with inflation. And these idiots have come along and let it run rampant again. It's only going to get worse. These are people who don't understand anything about the real world. And all they're going to do at the next budget is put up more taxes. And what's that going to do? It's going to make growth even lower. It's going to make talented people leave. It's going to make rich people leave. It's going to make investment leave. Just at the same time as they're going to keep letting more and more economically illiterate third worlders come into this country. We don't want that. And so that's why I, like millions of other people, will be putting up my St. George's cross today and putting up my Union Jack.
Well
and
played.
Because people know Mrs. P is an American, and this will really upset them, we'll put up some stars and stripes as well to rub it in.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Excellent stuff. Very good to see you, James, and I look forward to a post of yours later on, perhaps, with the fluttering flags flying around the house, because absolutely people have got a new sense of pride about their nation, a new sense of pride about themselves, and a new sense of absolute determination not to be downtrodden by this useless, crappy government